Thank you, Paul, and thanks for RSS for allowing us to talk about Great Western and our exciting exploration programs that we've got coming up in the next few months. What the industry needs and what we are intent on doing at Great Western is making a once-in-a-decade discovery. The Tier 1 targets that we're going to be testing in the next few months have all the hallmarks of discovery that gets made every 10 years or so. Disclaimer to read at your leisure. So there's a couple of key things that I'd like everyone to take away from this presentation. We've got a really experienced board and management team. Kevin, our chairman, he's a 50-year veteran of the industry. He's a chartered accountant. Myself, I'm a geologist. I've been in the industry over 25 years. I've got 50-50 mining geology and exploration experience. I started my career with Equigold, worked with companies like Newcrest and Evolution. Gold and base metals experience has really been my jam. Ross Williams, one of our non-execs, he was one of the co-founders of Macca, one of Australia's largest earth-moving companies before being taken by Thiess. Gray Egerton Warburton, he's a corporate mergers and acquisition specialist, really experienced in mining finance. And Tony Walsh, our company secretary, previously headed up the ASX listing office in Perth. Now, what's a little bit unusual about Great Western is the size of the targets that we have isn't ordinarily found in a junior exploration company's portfolio, and certainly not one with a market capitalisation that we have. We put greater than 70% of our funds straight into the ground. We're obsessed with making a discovery, and part of the way we do that is that our non-execs, which are also our major shareholders, they don't get paid anyway. Cash, options, shares, they're all looking for the share price upside. Even our office in Perth is gifted to us. We don't pay any rent by Ross, one of our directors. And we've got really supportive cornerstone shareholders. These people, many of them you'll know, they're technical leaders in the industry, chair people, managing directors of some of the ASX largest companies. Now we've got a deep well of targets, but we're in the next few months going to be focusing on these two. The Fairburn Copper Project, which we're looking for DeGrussa style volcanic hosted massive sulfide or VHMS style targets, and we're going to be drilling that in late this month. And Oval and Oval South, this is our monster. We're looking for Winu intrusive related copper gold targets here. For those of you that don't know Winu, you can be forgiven. It's part of Rio stable of assets. Doesn't get talked about much, but it's a monster. It's 2.7 million tonnes of copper, 7.8 million ounces of gold. It's open in all directions. We're going to be testing something very similar in May. Now, either of these could be company makers in their own right, and we've got two of them. So I'll start with Fairburn. Now, Fairburn's really remote. It's 900 k's northeast of Perth. Really little exploration has been completed up in this neck of the woods, say for diamond exploration for kimberlites in the 90s. We completed an airborne electromagnetic survey that threw up 8 conductors. You could be quite justified to go out and drill each of these in turn, but we bring technical rigour with all our projects. They've got to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. They've got to be worthy of our time and, most importantly, our funds. We sent our teams up there, we pulled cable up and over the sand dunes, we completed a ground electromagnetic survey, and New Exco, our geophysical consultants, modelled three conductors that are close to the surface, between 80 and 190 metres below the surface, which we think are VHMS style targets. So what we're trying to emulate here is what Sandfire did when they discovered DeGrussa 14 years ago. At that time, Sandfire's share price was between 8 to 9 cents. On the back of making the discovery of DeGrussa, their share price hit a peak of $8.30 and $2.7 billion market cap. And that's what we're looking to do here, and we'll be drilling this late this month. And why do we think that we've got a DeGrussa? These VHMS style targets, they're old sea floors with a volcanic vent that spews out sulfides onto the sea floor, settles, and then they get preserved. We knew that these conductors were in the right geological environment for that to happen from the government mapping. But we went up there, we completed further mapping, and what we found, if that top left image there, that maroon is the conductor plate at surface. In amongst the sediments was a volcanic unit, previously undocumented. When we sampled that, it came back with copper and gold results, and we interpret that we're just outboard of a volcanic vent, a massive sulfide system that the plate is mapping out. If you look at the top right there, that's a cross section of DeGrussa. That dotted box is where we think we mapped at surface. The green there is that volcanic unit that wasn't documented before in amongst the sediments. And that red is the DeGrussa ore body, which we think we have with the conductor that we're mapping. So we're going to be drilling this late this month. Oval and Oval South. So this is a Winu intrusive related copper gold. This is probably one of the largest targets anyone will test in Australia this year. It's a monster, and the way it came into our portfolio is an interesting story. It was actually defined by Rio back in the late 90s. They were looking for giant copper deposits. They were looking for their Winu before they had their Winu. They completed an airborne survey, and Oval lit up as a conductive high. It was their number one priority target. But the geophysics technique that they used, called Tempest, it maps conductors near surface really well. But when the conductors get a bit deeper, or in the geological units that you have at the Urita Basin, where Oval's sits, where that depth is gets a bit hazy. So they drilled this. They drilled a hole down to 232 metres. The geologists on the rig at the time, using the data they had, they intersected siltstone with interbedded shale units. So shales can often throw up false anomalies. They've gone, okay, target's tested, we move on. Oval sat around for about a decade until Great Western picked it up as part of an extensive land package and commenced preliminary work, including a VTEM survey that better maps conductors in this geological environment. But because of the size of the ground, the amount of work that had been done, Great Western entered into a joint venture with Sandfire Resources. One of the things that Sandfire did, and they did really good geological work, was they looked at the VTEM data and they realised that the conductor that Rio was chasing was actually 70 metres below their terminated hole. They got really excited about it. They put the geology together. They drilled. They designed a few holes. They started the permitting process. But DeGrussa went into care and maintenance, as all mines do. They were building their project in Botswana. They picked up Matsa in Spain. They're operating over 3 continents. They were stretched, and they walked away from exploration in Australia completely. They handed this back to us 100% after spending $4.5 million. Now this is a VTEM cross section. This is the data Rio didn't have. Okay, you don't have to be a geophysicist to understand this. That black line on there is the terminated drill hole. They drilled down to 232 metres. The red is the conductor that's below it, 70 metres below it. That green is probably the siltstones and shales that Rio picked up on. But if they had this data, they would have continued this hole and we wouldn't be talking about it today. But all big deposits, they don't just have one thing. They all have multiple coincident geological features. It's one thing to have an EM anomaly, but you need a bit more meat on the bone. As I said, Sandfire did good work. They completed an airborne survey, a gravity survey, and what they showed up, if you look up the top there, the Oval and Oval South EM anomalies are circled. The gravity showed up gravity high, so really dense rocks that line up perfectly with the EM. And why that's important, we interpret that the EM's saying something's conductive, gravity's saying it's high density. We think that's massive sulfide accumulations. Just like Winu, there's a deep magnetic anomaly, which we interpret as an intrusive source. This provides the metal-rich fluids, the heat, effectively the engine for a mineral system. Just like Winu, the stratigraphy, sandstone, carbonate units, siltstones, rocks that can grab gold and copper out of the system and accumulate it in its layers. And probably most importantly, the position on the Ida fault, big crustal scale feature. It's cross-cut by a basin fault here, which we think is focus of fluids. Now, I've just got a video I'll play here that helps explain this a bit more.
Great Western has a substantial tenure position, all in the Tier 1 jurisdiction of Western Australia. The Oval and Oval South targets are within GTE's 100% owned Yareda North project and located on the prolific Ida Fault that effectively runs the 500 kilometre length of the Yilgarn Craton. The fault has proven metal endowment, with several world-class deposits scattered along its length, such as the Perseverance and Mount Keith nickel deposits, and both the DeGrussa and Monty copper gold deposits, just to name a few. The Ida Fault is interpreted to trend through the vastly underexplored Yareda Basin. Oval and Oval South are positioned on the intersection of the Ida Fault and the interpreted Yareda Basin Growth Fault, which we consider to be a prime location to channel and focus metal-rich mantle fluids from the fertile Ida Fault to be trapped within sedimentary rocks of the Yareda Basin. We have benefited from the work of Rio Tinto and Sandfire Resources. Rio Tinto identified the oval anomaly in the late 1990s by an airborne tempest electromagnetic survey, where the target was defined as a conductive high. A later gravity survey was completed, which defined a coincident gravity high at Oval and Oval South. Here, we have benefited from the work of Sandfire Resources that, in joint venture with us, undertook substantial work refining this target. The gravity highs are a perfect fit with the previously identified electromagnetic anomaly. Great Western interprets that the high chargeable zone identified by the electromagnetic data, combined with the high density material defined by the gravity survey, represents a potentially giant zone of buried copper gold rich sulfide mineralization. Rio Tinto drilled the Tempest anomaly in the early 2000s, with a hole drilled to a depth of 232 metres. The Tempest geophysical survey technique that defined the electromagnetic anomaly in 1990s for drill testing defines near-surface conductors well, but had difficulty defining deeper conductors in resistive sedimentary rocks that are found at Oval and Oval South. Rio Tinto, quite rightly with the Tempest data they had at the time, terminated the drill hole at 232 metres after intersecting interbedded siltstones and shales, with the latter unit having the potential for providing false anomalies. However, the later VTEM electromagnetic surveying that can better define electromagnetic conductors at depth and within the geological units found at Oval defined the conductor at a depth of 300 metres, 70 metres below the Rio Tinto drilled hole. The VTEM survey also mapped the siltstone shale units that Rio Tinto geologists suspected could be providing a false anomaly well, but defined the source of the electromagnetic conductor below this unit. Without the benefit of the VTEM survey data, Rio terminated the drill hole 70 metres before the target zone. Great Western interprets that a potential colossal discovery can be made at Oval, which we interpret to be an analogue of Rio Tinto's giant Winu intrusive-related copper-gold deposit. Drilling of the electromagnetic conductor below Rio Tinto's previously drilled hole is scheduled for May 2024.
So in summary, we're going to be drilling two big Tier 1 targets, Fairburn, where we're looking for DeGrussa lookalikes there, and Oval and Oval South. And being the National Wine Centre is quite apt, no discovery is guaranteed, but if either one of these come in, it will create significant shareholder wealth for our shareholders. Everyone needs to own a piece of Great Western, so come with us. Let's toast champagne on the back of a once-in-a-decade discovery. Thank you.